The 14th edition of the Ocean Race is now over halfway, but as leg 4 begins, the challenges keep coming.
Thunderstorms.
15 knot gust.
Clouds.
Boat breaking conditions.
Boat slamming in a big waves during cold front.
Transitions of no wind.
Sargasso seaweed.
Doldrums.
Exclusion zones.
Fishing pod, fishing net along the Brazilian coast. Intense racing.
The heat.
A big dogfight. Rough state.
Keeping the intensity so high for 17 days.
Over 2 weeks after the final team docked in Itajaí, Brazil at the end of the third leg, it's time for the fleet to set off once again, rested, rejuvenated, and ready for whatever leg 4 of the Ocean Race throws their way.
I think from kind of the word go, it's going to be some really close fighting out there in this next leg. The layout of the leg, the weather and strategy is going to bring us super close together.
We're going to be neck to neck with the other boats, hopefully in front of them. But yeah, it's going to be a matter of speed, of strategy, and trying to be on it 100% of the time, to be faster and smarter than the others.
Newport's where I'm from. It's from, we're 11th hours from, and we really, really want to win this leg.
The 14th edition of the Ocean Race has already pushed teams to their limits and beyond. The first leg from Alicante to Cabo Verde and the second leg through to Cape Town were both dominated by Team Holcim-PRB. They set the pace and quickly became the team to beat on top of the scoreboard. The third leg from Cape Town to Itajaí was the longest in 50 years of Ocean Race history. Kevin Escoffier's team once again took an early lead and picked up maximum points at the midway scoring gate, but the chasing pack closed the gap. And after a grueling battle through the Southern Ocean, Boris Herrmann's Team Malizia overcame a barrage of challenges and flew into the lead on the home straight. They were first to touch dry land in Brazil, pushing the series leaders to second.
There's such a tight group on the boat. We're closing a beautiful chapter of epic sailing and beautiful teamwork.
GUYOT Environment Team Europe only made it 3 days into the mammoth leg before extreme damage at the hands of the Southern Ocean forced them to turn back for repairs. And although 11th Hour Racing Team and Biotherm also encountered breakages and technical issues, they endured and crossed the finish line in 3rd and 4th, respectively.
Not obviously the result we were looking for, but coming into the dock today filled with more positivity than I ever could have imagined, just with the sense of accomplishment and the way that we dealt with everything that was thrown our way.
So Team Holcim-PRB currently lead the standings with 19 points. Team Malizia's heroic Leg 3 victory sees them leapfrog into 2nd overall, but only 1 point ahead of 11th Hour Racing Team in 3rd. That leaves Biotherm in 4th and GUYOT Environment Team Europe in 5th place after a frustrating 3rd leg, which saw them miss out on 2 scoring opportunities. After time ashore to regroup and repair, and with a passionate crowd gathering to see them off, the full fleet of 5 set out on the next stage of the epic voyage.
Ciao. Ciao. Thank you.
Will Harris steps up as Team Malizia's skipper in Boris Herrmann's absence, whilst a host of new faces also join the ranks, all ready to navigate over 10,000 kilometres to Newport, Rhode Island. The 4th leg of 7 will see teams leaving Itajaí and heading north, where they'll negotiate their final doldrums and equator crossing before hooking into the Northern Hemisphere trade winds. Finally, they'll pick their way through complex weather systems off the US mainland before racing to the finish line off Newport's Fort Adams State Park. But it all begins with a 2-lap inshore course, with all teams battling for inches at the start line.
The
start line is just to the right-hand side as we get to those final few seconds. This is the final push to the line. Watch the flags to see if anybody is over. And it was right on the line.
What appears to be a strong start by both 11th Hour Racing Team and GUYOT Environment Team Europe turns out to be a little too eager.
So 11th Hour and GUYOT have had an individual recall. They were over the line early. So both of them are going to have to go around and recross the start line. So that gives Biotherm a really, really good start.
With the two teams turning back to restart, Biotherm takes an early lead ahead of Team Malizia and Team Holcim-PRB. And that lead quickly grows. Paul Mayat's team soon has Itajayi in their rear-view mirror.
Really happy about this race, but the race is not finished. We have 70 days or maybe more in front. But it's good for the team, you know, to start well. It's good for the mind. We see that the boat have a lot of potential in this kind of wind.
Early conditions are shifty and the sudden squalls are proving tricky, not least when Biotherm are suddenly taken by surprise when the boat heels over too far. And although they quickly right the boat and get back on course, the rest of the fleet is closing the gap and staying alert.
So since the starting lap, everyone's been pretty close together. The wind keeps coming up and down, and quite big clouds, and a few rainbows as well. So yeah, this is the first moment we've had consistent conditions, but we're definitely having to be on our toes here.
Seeking more favourable conditions to the east, the teams take turns zigzagging away from the coast of Brazil. And Team Holcim-PRB marginally edge into the lead. But the spread from first to fifth is less than 10 kilometres, so it's all to play for as the teams get back in the groove.
Feels like it's been quite a while since we've sailed in conditions like this, but so far so good, I'd say. We're nicely in the fight. We've got some good speed in these conditions, which is nice. Yeah, it's really nice, I would say, as well. Like, it's nice to be back in this sort of very fine-tuning sort of conditions. We've really got to work for every little bit of speed.
But it's proving frustrating for 11th Hour Racing Team as they try to break free of the pack.
Yeah, the game plan here is really to fight our way offshore and find some better pressure. But doing that is proving, a little challenging at the moment. Just going to have to keep scrapping away here this evening, and then hopefully, by the time it gets dark, we can get into some cleaner pressure and hopefully start making some tracks on the guys on the inside.
There's even more frustration for GUYOT Environment Team Europe, as they believe the other teams are catching the wind and leaving them behind.
Malizia is at 10 knots. Biotherm at 7 knots.
But it's not long before everyone is stuck in the same bubble of low winds. Everyone apart from 11th Hour Racing Team, who slip through and take the lead heading north.
Overnight, we finally got a good cloud and we sailed around everybody. So we are in a good spot with a tricky decision coming up. We got to decide whether or not we're going to go inside or outside this exclusion zone. So, you know, the tactical game is fully in play.
The danger of the oil-filled exclusion zone to the right means the boats are currently jammed on a narrow racetrack only 40 miles wide between it and the Brazilian coast on the west. This forces the teams to make short, strategic tacks, and this is where Team Holcim-PRB reclaim the lead.
We're chipping away here, getting close to Kevin and Holcim, so that's pretty good. It's nice to be able to get some fresh air on deck. It's not too wet. And if you look around, let's see. You can see Kevin just up there and trying to get close to him.
We just tagged. You see 11 Hour. We're in a match race. They tagged with us. They're also on the J2, and yeah, we'll just see what's going to happen in the coming hours. But we're happy. Boat is in a happy state. Crew is happy. So yeah, all good.
As night falls, there's less than 4 kilometers between the leaders, though Kevin Escoffier's Team Holcim-PRB seem to be expanding their lead metre by metre in the darkness. But then, at 5 a.m, as everything looks calm for the night, disaster hits. Team Holcim-PRB's mast snaps and falls backwards onto the deck.
Open this hatch, maybe.
The whole team leaps into action.
Holcim-PRB, 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 pan. We've lost our mast.
With the mast hanging over the stern, halyards, sheets and electrical wires are loose. They need to cut the mast free and secure it to the boat, whilst ensuring nothing else is in danger of being damaged.
Rudder in the water! Rudder in the water!
This is no longer about the race, but about the safety of everyone on board. They haul the jib out of the water and make sure everything is safely secured.
I'm gonna secure it straight at the back.
Panic over. The sailors' response followed the playbook to the letter. They can finally breathe and regroup. The damage is bad, but it's contained. The only question now is what they do next. The morning after the night before, and Team Holcim-PRB can finally assess the damage to their remorque in daylight.
We had a mechanical failure and the mast fall down, as you can see. We are working right now on a jury rig in order to be able to go back in harbor, to be back in the race as soon as possible. Again, everything was perfect for me. New crew, plenty of energy, leading the leg 4. It's always like that when it's an accident. 1 second, everything is perfect. 1 second, everything is nightmare. So it's part of the life.
With the shore crew working hard on options for rejoining the race, the priority for the sailors is to get to the safety of dry land. So they turn around, and under a makeshift jury rig, they head to the nearest large port in Rio. A huge blow for the team, which until now had been leading the way. As Kevin Escoffier aims for shore, the 4 remaining boats head north, tightly packed together en route to Newport. 11th Hour Racing Team is leading the charge, but Team Malizia is holding their own just to the east, and spirits are high.
Good to be going fast. It's pretty full-on conditions, if I'm honest. The wind is so up and down, but yeah, nice to be going fast again. It's like a different boat.
Only 55 kilometers behind, the chasing pair are also dueling, and after days of slow progress, they're reaping the benefits of the windier conditions. At the back, GUYOT Environment Team Europe find 2 knots of extra speed, overtaking Biotherm in 3rd and entering contention for the lead. But just as they find their stride, disaster. Their foil down line, the rope that holds the weight of the boat when they're foiling, breaks. Without it, they're unable to foil, so have no choice but to turn away from the wind to make a time-consuming repair, whilst the other 3 boats stretch ahead.
Each time we can show something good. On the first leg, on the second leg, on the third leg, on this leg, and each time we have a big.
When they turn north again to continue the race, they find themselves over 150 kilometers behind. And with Biotherm also dropping off the pace slightly, the front runners keep each other in sight and push ahead.
Just arrived in the doldrums and we still can see 11th hour. So it's very exciting. We're neck to neck all the time. If they peel, we peel. If they make moves, we make moves. So it's very, very motivated. It makes us super hungry.
With squalls and shifts to contend with, as well as soaring temperatures and floating blankets of sargassum seaweed, this is a draining challenge for the sailors. So at this point, fractional gains make all the difference, as Team Malizia proved when they edge across the equator just 2 minutes ahead of their American rivals.
We're in the Northern Hemisphere. Back to where we came from.
Yeah, I feel a bit more home now. You know, I can just... It's just a different smell, the Northern Hemisphere. It's just a different vibe.
But as they set their sights on home soil, 11th Hour Racing Team is more determined than ever.
Been close with Malizia now for seems like days, and you know, we've been fighting for every inch, and they're hard to get in steady state. But you know, we got a zillion miles to go. Everybody's hungry, and it's just another opportunity to claw back.
And their persistence pays off. In less than 24 hours, they catch the north trade winds and fly by Malizia to a narrow lead of 12 nautical miles. But as they continue to tick down the miles towards their home port, the conditions aren't making it easy. The weather systems vary wildly from the forecast, making for challenging times. And back in third place, Biotherm are feeling it.
We sailed into a bank of clouds, a kind of a small cell, with no wind, or very little wind, very random directions. So we had big wind shifts of nearly 120 degrees, and did a few 360s. We couldn't keep the boat moving. It's pretty emotional, to be honest.
Very disappointed.
With Biotherm stalling, GUYOT Environment Team Europe see their chance to close the gap.
Just come back. It's starting to spoil again. It makes me happy. Plan and Biotherm. That's the only plan.
And they're not the only team finding the wind. With Team Malizia and 11th Hour Racing Team still jostling for the lead, a weather front approaches, bringing with it some of the strongest winds the teams have faced in the entire race. Leg 4 is saving the worst till last.
We've gone through the process of reducing all of our sail. Third reef, and the storm came up. We're doing everything we can to keep the boat in control, not to break anything. But the difference in the leg could be made right here, and it's just about not making any mistakes. Keeping high averages and keeping the boat moving toward the mark. So, no fairways, no breakages, none of that stuff.
And just as it looked like they were finally making gains, the storm brings the latest in a long series of disasters for GUYOT Environment Team Europe.
Oh no! Oh no, 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 no!
In overnight gale force winds, their boat slams off a wave and the mast crashes down. Thankfully, everyone on board is safe. But with just over 1,000 kilometers to go till Newport, their fourth leg comes to an abrupt end. It's a devastating development, and one that's impossible to fix afloat. So the next morning, after the storm subsides, they secure the boat and direct a jury rig to make for shore as quickly as possible in the hope of rejoining the race on the next leg. With only 3 boats still sailing, the race for first comes down to the wire as 11th Hour Racing Team and Team Malizia emerge from the storm into the final stretch neck and neck.
Pointing straight towards the sun, beautiful foiling conditions, 20 knots, doing 25 knots boat speed. I think everyone's going to have a smile on their face this evening because we're going to be arriving tomorrow. And we've got one final fight with 11th Hour, one final push.
That final battle is a low-speed, close-quarters tactical race towards the shore in light winds. And although the Malizians cling on to their stern, Charlie Enright's 11th Hour Racing Team don't give them an inch.
Nice job, guys! Yes, that was awesome!
They cross the finish line first, to the delights of the home crowd.
Feels amazing to win this leg. I mean, take a look around. I mean, there's droves of people. I mean, rows of people. It's nuts. I mean, you know, we could finish it any time of day. To do it in the afternoon on a sunny day with great weather, I mean, it's a dream come true.
Really, really nice here to be in our team's hometown in first place. It's you know, there's always massive pressure to win the one where you're coming home, so to get the job done is pretty amazing.
Will Harris leads his team across in second, just over half an hour later after a hard-fought duel.
I was super impressed with how the team sailed. We did an amazing job keeping up with 11th hour and giving them a real run for their money to the finish there, I'd say.
We pushed so hard the whole leg, but they beat us. So this is sports, and it's like it is. I'm happy with the second place. It's okay.
And although it's slow progress for Biotherm, with no competition from behind, they take their time and safely glide over the finish line in third place, completing the podium after a testing leg.
It's good to arrive here. It was quite a hard leg because a new crew, totally new crew on Biotherm. Unfortunately, we are behind the two boats and we were together 5 days ago, so we are a bit disappointed, but it's not finished.
So the overall points table closes up with the top 3 teams all within 1 point of each other. 11th Hour Racing Team's first win means they're now tied with Team Malizia on points, though the Import Series standings act as a tiebreaker to place them in second. Third place means Biotherm hold on to 4th overall, with GUYOT Environment Team Europe in 5th. The teams now have just 10 days to get shipshape for the next leg, which will take them on a 6,000-kilometre journey across the Atlantic to Aarhus in Denmark. And with double points on offer, the pressure is on.
I think this next leg is going to be an absolute sprint. You know, it's pedal to the metal. It's worth double points. It's relatively short compared to something like the Southern Ocean leg, and there's a whole ocean race to be won as a result of it, I think.
Conditions-wise, you never know. Competition-wise, you know it'll be fierce because it's 10, 12 days. So we always operate at 100%, but 100% for 10 days looks a lot different and a lot more intense.
I think it's always challenging all the leg. You say, oh, okay, maybe this one will be easier than the precedent, but it's sure it's not the case. And the leg 5 is really hard.
I think as a team we're feeling confident. I think we've got the boat for it. It's really built for these strong wind conditions, and yeah, we're going to give it everything to try and win this one.
But for the 2 teams still missing their masts, it's a challenge just to make sure they can reach the start line. So for Team Holcim-PRB and GUYOT Environment Team Europe, now safely on shore but shattered, it's now a race against time to rejoin the ocean race as soon as they can.